Good morning and welcome. I'm Pete Morris of Virginia Tech Athletics, and on behalf of our president, Dr. Timothy Sands, and our director of athletics, Witten Babcock, welcome. At this time, I'd ask you to please silence your mobile devices, and we'll get on with the program. After we hear remarks from Mr. Babcock and Coach Young, we'll have an opportunity for a photo op in front of the dais, and then we'll have some individual interviews. I would encourage fans, stick around once we're done with the interviews. If you want to meet Coach and his family and get a selfie, we'd love to have you stick around. So at this time, it's my distinct privilege to introduce our Director of Athletics, Mr. Witten Babcock.
All right. Thank you all for coming as we celebrate the next chapter of Virginia Tech basketball. Thank you for those certainly in attendance, for those watching. We're streaming online. We know it was short notice for a lot of media and y'all to be here, but we had a reason for that. We certainly didn't want to get too close to the national championship game tonight. We wanted to brag on Coach Young and have that coming across the bottom all day long. Tomorrow, after that game is over, we didn't want to get covered up in that. Wednesday's too late because we're going to get rolling Thursday for recruiting. So thanks for coming in on the short notice. And again, we certainly want to celebrate Coach, but that's why we did it. And to the media members that aren't here in Minnesota, that's what you get for covering UVA instead of us. All right. Congratulations, UVA. A lot of respect for them. You know the deal. I couldn't help myself. I also want to thank and recognize our players, our student athletes, right? That 2018-19, we just had, a lot of them are here. Arguably, or maybe not arguably, the best team ever in Virginia Tech history. And that banner is going to go right up there, 3 straight. And I want to thank them a lot. You know, sometimes we forget they're 18 to 22-year-old students at a great university that just also happen to play varsity athletics. And they've been through a lot in the last few days. I'm so proud of them and tremendous respect for them. Coach Young just met them a few minutes ago. He wanted to meet the team certainly prior to the press and everyone else. So thanks again for coming. I also want to thank and recognize Coach Young's wife, Margaret, and his son, Davis. Their daughter is in college in Tennessee, Cooper. She's not here. But it's a family, right? It's a Hokie family. It's their family. And to uproot and come here, I know how that is, Coach Fuente, and it means a lot for them to be all in and wearing the colors. Thanks for that. I want to thank John Boleyn and Tom Gabbard and all the other many folks that helped with the search behind the scenes. So many different areas, or the folks that had to put this together on 12 hours notice. There was a lot of people working on things. Oftentimes they didn't know exactly why, but it takes a village, and I'm so proud of them as well. We covered a lot in 4 days. And that one team philosophy we talk about certainly showed itself these last few days. Coach Young was and is exactly what we were looking for. He is the best coach for this team, for the teams to come, the best coach for you all, and the best coach for Virginia Tech. Our search was more broad-based this time. Maybe that's why there was so much chatter about it. Coach Young was on our list early. I certainly knew about him 5 years ago when we did our previous hire. But this time we were a little more broad-based. We called a bunch of people. We interviewed a number on the phone, but we only sat in front of one guy, and that was Coach Young, and I believe that was 2 days ago. My time is getting away from me. But he was impressive, and it was a no-brainer, and he was the guy for us. So we started with the group of 15 to 16, narrowed it down to 6, picked our one, and we went and we got our guy, and we're so thankful he chose us. I also better thank the president and the board of visitors before I forget them. My boss is in D.C. He met Mike yesterday. We got him in and out of town yesterday, and we're able to do that, and he's got a day job, but he sends his best, and the board of visitors for their support. All right. One coach that we interviewed but didn't hire said this term. I wish I could footnote him, but he probably doesn't want his name out there. One time when I asked him, how should we build it here, this other coach said, we should be long-term greedy. And I kind of like that. It doesn't mean we won't be great in the near term. It doesn't mean we're going to wait forever. But we're going to build it with the thought process or the eye to be long-term greedy. Not a flash in the pan, a program that's in the NCAA tournament and competing for championships all the time. We wanted someone in Coach Young who could build it and sustain it, and to help us roll from this challenger brand to a champion brand. In a way, Coach Young is us and we are him. Right? There are these car rental companies we talk about in our all-staff meetings. There's one that says we're number one, we're the greatest, and then number two is we try harder. By the way, I think our sponsor's Enterprise Rent-A-Car. I'll just mention that this time. But that we try harder is great, right? But it takes a big march to roll to being a champion and go, we expect to get everybody's best night in and night out, and we're going to switch from this challenger to champion brand, and he's the guy for it, and we're the school for it. So Coach Young is a proven winner. He's beaten the best. He has high character. He has energy and upside. He has awareness of what it will take to elevate to this level of basketball. Not that his teams haven't been darn good already, but to get it to this level in the ACC night in and night out, and he and we will invest in a great staff. He knows this region. He knows recruiting. His values fit our culture. He's NCAA compliant. It's not his first rodeo. He's on the NCAA ethics committee during this FBI era. That should tell you a lot. He won't job jump. He's an educator, a teacher. He gets to the NCAA tournament. He's consistent and solid, and he's coming home. He well positions us for the new AC and the eventual changing of the guard. We're right where we want to be. Essentially, Coach has everything we want. Can he do it in the ACC? Yes, absolutely. Look who his teams have already beaten, and just imagine what he can do with more resources. Can he maintain and elevate our recruiting at the highest level? He knows that. We know that. This is critical. We discussed it multiple times, and I was very impressed with his strategy. He wants to prove something, and we want to prove something. He's humble, confident, and hungry, and he wants to be here. I really like that. So in closing, there is always room in this profession for a great coach, and we have one. We have a plan and we have a vision. I ask all of you to keep the faith and stay the course. We will work hard to make all of you extremely proud. Our goal is to win the ACC. That is unchanged and that is inevitable. Please welcome the next head coach of the Hokies, Mike Young.
Thank you. I'm proud of you. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you very much. I am so thrilled to be home, and I am appreciative of President Sams and the Board of Visitors, Whit Babcock, John Boleyn, who I've gotten to know well here over the last few days, and I can't begin to explain to you how impressed and how appreciative I am to have come in contact with them and the way they went about this process, and just impressive. And I could not be more thrilled to be here as a Hokie. My love for ball originated in this building many years ago. My dad bring me to this building and see that 73 NIT championship team with Bristow, Charlie Thomas, Craig Leader, Ed Frazier, all those guys. I remember it like it was yesterday. And as I look around, I think of all the big games I've seen in here through the years, and so help me goodness, I have felt this building shake on a number of occasions. And to be standing over there as your basketball coach for a long time is meaningful to me, and I am so excited. I can't stand it. It's a pleasure to be back in the New River Valley, coaching a very proud basketball team. And before I go any further, I would like to applaud Coach Williams, who has done an excellent job with the Virginia Tech basketball program. I had an opportunity to visit with our team just a minute ago, and I was, as I knew I would be, so impressed with their eye contact, their body language, and I can't wait. I can't wait to get this stuff over with and get on the floor with them and start putting it together. I talked to another good friend last night, Dale Layer, who was on staff here last year, and Dale said, Mike, and this is a big deal for us as coaches, your culture is in place, and that's a huge consideration. And I could not agree more. Watching this Virginia Tech team and seeing them compete and seeing them represent the university in an unbelievable fashion in this year's NCAA tournament, advancing to a Sweet 16, where I thought they had a couple of tough calls like I did against Kentucky around earlier, but we'll save that for later. As Whit alluded to, we have the resources to have a staff that will do a great job here. We'll get that right. Been doing it a long time and love it. And I'm a lot better coach when I've got really good players. And we will have a staff that, again, like our players, will represent the university in this region in a class fashion. I've had a number of conversations. I have not had a lot of sleep, but the ones that I've talked to are guys that I've known for many, many years, and I feel good about them and very strongly about the start that we have together here. We'll be making those announcements as we move ahead, like our staff, like the players that we will bring here. We're going to have high-character folks that value a world-class education and the opportunity to play in what I consider the best basketball conference in the world, in the Atlantic Coast Conference. And to be a head coach at Virginia Tech in the Atlantic Coast Conference truly is a dream come true. So I am so happy to be before you. I know it's going to take me a bit to get to know everyone, but we get everything squared away and I get Margaret, my son, up here. We're going to have ample time in the community, and I am looking forward to getting to know everyone. Need your support. So appreciate you being here today, and go Hokies.
If you'd like to present the ball, get a photo op.
Picture. All right, we gotta do the official picture. First round draft pick. Thank you.
All right, members of the media, we have wireless mics available. Please identify yourself and your affiliation, and we will take your questions at this point.
How you doing, Coach? Hank Kurz with the Associated Press. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Welcome to Blacksburg.
It's a treat to be in Blacksburg.
30 years at one school is a long time.
Yeah. You know, it worked out pretty well for Coach Beamer at Virginia Tech. You know? And I think Coach is here, and I can't wait to see him. And rest assured, I'm not comparing Mike Young to Frank Beamer. But Coach felt a sense of loyalty to this school. I felt a sense of loyalty to Wofford. You know, I love the region. Met Margaret there. Struggled, you know, as we moved from the Division II ranks. You know, in Division I, and not affiliated with a conference. I had some dark, tough times, but just kept grinding on it and working at it. And, you know, I have had some other opportunities that I didn't think were a fit for Mike Young, more importantly for our family. This one made a lot of sense. This one, you know, for obvious reasons, was something that I was so excited about. And when I had the opportunity to talk to Whit for the first time one day last week, my days are running together as well. You know, suffice to say, I hightailed it out of Minneapolis as quickly as I could to get back to an area where we could get together and visit. So, you know, I wouldn't change a thing. I've had a great 30 years at one place, and I hope I've got another 15, 16 here. Nothing would make me happier than call it quits here a long time from now, and having established, you know, Virginia Tech basketball among the, you know, the nation's finest.
What do you view as the kind of biggest challenge for the significant step up in competition. You said it's the best league in the world. What do you view as the challenges for you and your staff and whatever people you put together in making this move?
I hope I get this right. I think you just heard Mr. Babcock communicate, sustaining it. That is not easy anywhere. But that is what we intend to do. They've been to the NCAA tournament in the past 3 years, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. That is sustaining excellence. Now let's do it, for the long haul, and we're going to hit the ground running and roll. And again, as I said earlier, high character guys that want to represent this fine university with class, and a culture in place of hard work, of toughness, of being a great teammate. I think that's the only way you get there with those ingredients. Mark, not the last question I want to hear from you during our time together. I know you. It's good to see you, buddy.
Mike, congratulations.
Thanks, pal.
For Tech fans that might not be too familiar with your resume and what you've done at Wofford and who you've beaten, can you kind of shed some light on what you've done there that makes you confident that you can make this leap from the Southern Conference to the ACC? And then I'll ask with the same thing, what you saw in Mike's record that made you think he was ready for this elevation, as you put it.
We went to Chapel Hill, forget the name of the university, and won down there in late December. That's not supposed to happen. NC State and Reynolds Coliseum in December of 15, Purdue, South Carolina twice. We've beaten Auburn. We beat South Carolina again this past year. There's been a number of great wins. I'm most proud of winning our league championship 5 of the last 10 years in the Southern Conferences. For basketball fans, you understand what a quality league it is. It's not the Atlantic Coast Conference. There's not another one like the Atlantic Coast Conference. But to climb that ladder, to see my team climb that ladder 5 of the last 10 years is the most rewarding thing that I've experienced professionally. But you ask about the significant wins, Mark. What I didn't mention is the vast majority of those were with us going on the road. It will be so neat having those teams come to the Castle and to Blacksburg, and to have those at home as often as you play them on the road.
There's not much I would add to that. I think I covered it. Certainly, if you can coach at any level, and it's not his first rodeo, but yet I actually looked at the Sweet 16. Every one of the coaches, their ages, the schools that they were hired. Y'all should do that. Coach is one of the young bucks in that group, and had a lot of energy, and he wants to prove something. So I just believe if you can coach, you can do it. And his plan for recruiting was really well, and he checks every box we could possibly want. So somebody gave me a chance, and I like to see somebody that gets their dream job like I did.
Again, your name and affiliation, please.
Chris Coleman, TechSideline.com. Coach Witten mentioned that you have a strategy for recruiting. Can you go into that on a little bit of detail?
Yeah. Without getting too bogged down in it, you got to take care of the Commonwealth. I haven't been here in a long time, but this has always been home. And there was a time I thought I knew every high school coach in the state of Virginia. That is dipped here, but we'll pick right up. I'm a basketball historian, and I know what has worked here in the regions that Virginia Tech has been successful in through the years. Maryland, D.C. We've got to do a good job in North Carolina. North Carolina is a very good basketball state. Will we dip into South Carolina? You betcha. But certainly spend some time in the great city of Atlanta as well. Florida produced 98 Division I basketball players a year ago. Kerry and others from Florida. those kids will get out of there and to play in a league such as ours and a facility such as ours, with the resources and the brand that Virginia Tech has generated here for a long time. So we'll hunt and peck, but we will do our dead level best to attract guys that fit us and can help us win a lot of basketball games.
Mike, Andy Bitter from The Athletic.
Andy.
You touched on it in your introduction presser about memories of Castle Coliseum when you were younger. Could you just expand on that a little bit? And I was curious how closely have you paid attention to that since you've left the area?
Very much so. I'm very much so. Came here as a team, or an all-sports camp. I forget the gentleman's name that ran the camp. It was 3 weeks. Coach Coffey was the football coach. I guess Don DeVoe was the basketball coach. And somehow, some way, I was befriended by Alan Bristow. I mean, one of the great players of all time. And Alan would leave my dad and I tickets to come over, and I can remember that walk through that parking lot back here being one of the coldest walks I've ever experienced in my life. But he was kind enough to bring us into a number of games. I don't remember any specifically. I remember the Louisvilles and the Memphis and, some of those, and just this building rocking, this shaking of this building, and, it's still intact and great improvements have been made. Again, I look forward to being on that sideline and experiencing that firsthand many years later.
Coach Hank Kurz with AP again. Witt has mentioned a few times that you feel like you have something to prove.
Yeah.
Can you kind of characterize that for us?
I think that's a very accurate statement. This is a step up from Mike Young. We've won a lot of games at a great level, and we've beaten the North Carolinas and Purdue and all these people. This is a different animal, and I do feel a real sense of a challenge and something to prove, and that is my intention, will be my intention every day to build toward that, today, tomorrow, next week, into next year with our current team. Absolutely, fair statement.
Hey, Mike, welcome home.
Hey, buddy, good
Marty
to be home.
Gordon with the
Hey,
News
Marty,
Show on
good to
News
see you.
Can you expand on a little bit? What's it feel like coming home? I mean, thinking about those Radford days growing up playing basketball at Radford High School.
It's the ultimate, Marty. I mean, it's the ultimate. A lot of good friends, Uncle Norman, Aunt Joanne over there, my mom and dad. Great memories of this region, and once again, to come back and be the basketball coach of at Virginia Tech is just a mountaintop experience, dream come true.
Hey, Coach, Eric Johnson from WSLS 10.
Eric, I'm sorry, I can't find you. I'm sorry, pardon me.
It's all good. You talked about sustaining excellence. How do you have a plan to do that when it comes to turning this team, as Witt says, going from a challenger brand to a champion brand?
I think it's a multi-pronged deal. Winning and losing. Winning is important, needless to say. But sustaining excellence in the classroom, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but our basketball team achieved a 3.2 grade point average in the fall. That's excellence. And we'll challenge them to continue that good work. Doing it with high caliber people that, as I've said earlier, that want to be a part of something that's bigger than them, individually, and competing every day in practice and here on the game floor. We've got a plan in place, and we will begin that implementation right away.
Coach, David Cunningham, WVT 90.7 FM Blacksburg. I know you said you'd like to bring some of your assistants from Wofford and some of your staff from Wofford here. I've also heard names swirling around, guys who'd like to be here, like assistant Stacy Palmer, former Hokies assistant under Greenberg here, and Shane Nichols, who I know you have connections with at Murray State. What do you feel like about outside guys like that coming into
I'm
your
going
staff?
to stop short of slotting people. This is fluid. There was a lot of things happening, needless to say, David. A bit of a whirlwind, but I made a number of calls last night. Rest assured I'm going to do what's best for our basketball program. In terms of my staff at Wofford, those guys were awesome. I think one is probably going to get a head coaching job. All those things are going to work out. I'm going to have people in the places that give us the best opportunity to recruit really well, coach well, and ultimately win basketball games. That's what we need to do.
Coach Paul Van Wagner, ESPN Blacksburg. With the likes of Duke, North Carolina, and the school in Charlottesville, obviously there are steps in this process. What's a realistic timeline for you to be competing for an ACC championship?
I'm not sure the answer to that. I want it to be tomorrow. I want it to be quick. But there are going to be steps. There's no quick, no certain way to go about this. I will say that we're going to go fight with those young men that are here now. We're going to add a couple of pieces here in the spring that we hope gives us better opportunity to win games next winter. But I think it would be unfair for me to put a timeline on it. But we will expect to compete and do very well from next year and beyond.
Mike, can you kind of just talk in general about your offensive and defensive philosophies, and also, obviously, I assume you're coming in kind of realistically knowing that there's personnel losses that was going to happen here anyway, and you might have some more. What realistically, how are you looking at this job in terms of maybe not I'm inheriting a Sweet 16 team, but maybe I've got to grind and kind of get this team built back up.
Well, Mark, that's just a part of it in this day and age. And the only thing you can do is chop wood every day. Take care of these young men that are here now. Circle back with the kids that were signed in the fall. See if you can get that back on a positive track. If not, you move along. It will take us a little time here in the first couple weeks, 3 weeks, month. But this basketball program's in good hands, and I'm going to, as I've said earlier, I'm going to put a really good staff together, and I look forward to getting started. Offense, defense, I think you'll enjoy watching us play offensively. We're going to share. Shot selection is paramount. If you ever see me over there, this goes for all of you, ever see me over there, my head is spinning around on my shoulders. One of our kids has turned the ball over. I don't think you can turn the ball over in any sport and expect to succeed. So taking care of the ball is of critical importance. Primarily man-to-man. We've been very, very good defensively. This Virginia Tech team a year ago was very, very good defensively. They made you uncomfortable. They make their opponents a lot more uncomfortable than we made our opponents uncomfortable. We don't play a lot of zone. I don't think I'm a very good zone defensive coach, but if we can get started next year with a team that will fight you defensively and will rebound, we'll win a lot of games. I think you can say that with any team. But look forward to beginning that process. Hopefully this afternoon.
Hey, Coach, welcome home. Back here in the back. Dennis Carter from ABC 13 in Lynchburg.
Dennis.
What do you take most pride in as a basketball coach, and what will you demand from your players this year?
Playing the game the right way. And there's a lot of ways to define that. To me, it's playing really, really hard, playing with toughness and taking a charge and sharing the ball, recognizing a teammate's accomplishments when that person makes a big play, celebrating others' successes. There are a lot of things that I value. That would be a couple, and winning. Nothing like winning. And seeing those guys with smiles on their faces, and we did a lot of that this past year. Expect to do a lot more of it here at Virginia Tech.
One more.
Hi, Coach. Will Stewart from the Tech Sideline. You're going to have resources here you didn't have at Wofford. Can you tell us some things in terms of maybe analytics, game planning, that sort of thing that you'll be able to hire staff to do that you've always wanted to do? But
I'm going to have some of these young people around me. Some of this analytics is over my head, and some of it I don't particularly care for, to be frank. I was talking to a good friend of mine in the state a couple of years ago, and he says, "You don't do a lot with analytics, do you?" I said, "No, I don't. How'd you know?" He said, "Your analytics are off the charts." That I would have no idea. He said, "Well, your assist turnover ratio is always among the best in the country. Your field goal percentage defense is always quite good. You shoot the ball from three." So, well, I can read that. I don't need a bunch of fancy analytics to get to all that. Now, with what we have to offer here and our resources that are available, we will be as detail-oriented. We will be as up to speed with all of those methods of teaching and learning as any other program in the country, some of which I've never been able to expose my team to. But another reason it's great to be at Virginia Tech. We'll look forward to making use of all those platforms, or whatever you want to call them.
All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. If we've got time for individual interviews with Whit and Coach, and then again, fans, we've got some interviews still to do, but hang around if you want to meet Coach and his family and welcome them to Hokie Nation. We'd love to have you. Thank you.
Thanks.